Brian Ference with the MAGA podcast. Follow me on X at Brian Ference1 or magamindpodcast.com. We're live in the space discussing Scott Presler. We have quite a few, 119 people in the space. Check my profile for the link, but I'm going to live stream this as well. Hopefully you'll be able to hear.
We spent most of the time just doing videos, like Facebook Live videos, more so than actually working, doing, and that seemed a little bit odd to me. I'm not Facebook Live. I'm not a live streaming person. I can't stand it. I'd rather just get the work done. I'm not a face person. And so he was doing that. I figured, okay, well, I guess it's good to let people know what you're doing. I didn't connect all the dots. And at that first Stop the Steal rally, though, I don't remember what night, either the first or second night, his parents showed up. And I was like, oh my gosh, your parents are here. That's really cool. And we all went out to dinner at a restaurant, a little up down the street. And he never mentioned, oh, my dad works for government and information operations. Right? That never came up. They just seemed like two really nice parents supporting their kid, out doing this, big old deal on the Capitol steps. The thing that was odd, though, is the parents weren't there out on the steps with him. Like, if my parents came down to support me, they'd be on the steps with me. But his parents were absent from that. So now I look back, I'm like, okay, well, I'm guessing his father was probably driving this whole thing and probably just keeping an eye. His father's probably the handler. And Scott's just there doing the job. And they're keeping an eye on him while he's doing that. That would be my guess. Maybe those weren't even his parents. Might have just said they were his parents. It might not be. I don't know. So fast forward a bit. After the second Stop the Steal rally in Georgia, I ended up going back to DC to help investigate the election system, and I ended up working out of Sidney Powell's war room right after she was evacuated. So I was in DC that whole 2 months, basically. And even met Garrett Ziegler at that time and became friends with him. And I actually moved in with Garrett from Christmas Day through January 19th. I drop him off at the White House almost every day and pick him up when he was done working. So I was smack dab in the middle of all this stuff. And I thought at that point, Scott was a good guy. But later on, when he started pushing all this early voting and mail-in voting, I was like, what the heck is he doing? He doesn't understand. Holy crap. So I kept trying to get hold of him, tell him, dude, don't push early voting. He didn't understand the mechanics of the system. I'm cybersecurity, forensics, complex system analyst, and I looked at the entire election system. I kind of mapped the whole thing out. I knew what they were doing, and I called it out in 2021. So I wanted to let him know, because he was acting as an influencer, influencing all these people. Didn't want him influencing people the wrong direction, because that would destroy us. And he would not return my call. Oh. Is that better? Am I gone?
You're good.
Back? Okay. All right. So I was just worried he would influence people with the wrong thing. So I kept trying to get a hold of him. He wouldn't call me back. He wouldn't respond to my text messages. It was like just dead silence. And I ran into him at the Arizona GOP last year, January, I think, of last year, 2024. And so I was in the bathroom. I was up at the urinal. And I finished my business there. And I turned, because I heard a hairdryer. I turned my head, and he's in the corner of the bathroom with a hairdryer on, and he's doing his hair. And which, usually you don't see a hairdryer in a men's bathroom. It's not a common thing, but it's Scott. I was like, okay. So he finishes his hair. I finish washing my hands, and he starts to walk out. And I said, Scott, we got to talk about early voting. And he says, Mark. And so he remembered my name, which I didn't know if he was going to remember me or not. And he looked at me and said, Mark, every expert has told me exactly the same thing you've been trying to tell me, including Professor David Clements. I don't care. I'm not going to stop. And he turned and walked away. But he said all that with the most flamboyant voice I had ever heard in my life. Extremely prissy, flamboyant, and really thick, like Southern-ish or something accent, like super thick accent. And that was not his normal voice. I'd spent a lot of time with Scott. He just talked like a normal person when I was with him before. Now I'm thinking on this crazy act. I'm thinking, why on earth is this guy using this crazy voice with me? Like, that just, no one's ever done that to me in my life. That is bizarre. And I was like, all right,
Mark, I have to ask a question. Do you have any romantic relationship with Scott Presler?
Hell no. No. Not at all. I hope
Boxing, you're such a gossip queen.
This is not a troll space, boxing.
No, he's serious. I mean, I know he's.
It's a serious question.
Yeah.
Well, Mark,
well, there's allegations.
I'm not into that.
Yeah, there's allegations
I'm
of
not
that.
into that.
But yeah, go ahead.
No, me?
Mark,
no, not you.
I got a quick question.
Okay. All right.
I got a quick question for you, Mark. I've always assumed, I mean, just by looking at his pictures, it's obvious that, he's into guys. But you're saying that he never acted, gay beforehand. He never had like a gay kind of lisp or acted super, let's just be honest. He didn't act gay before then, and then all of a sudden he turned on this accent.
Flamboyant.
Yeah, flamboyant.
Okay. Some guys are a little more effeminate than others. And, I don't pass judgment on that. That's fine. So I noticed he was a little bit more on the effeminate side. A little bit. But this was out of the park. This was absolutely like putting on an act without any question. It almost seemed like a totally different person, even though obviously it was Scott Rush.
So like he hulked out basically when you asked him that question.
It was bizarre, but in the entire conversation in the bathroom, it was that super deep, really prissy, super flamboyant, deep accent voice.
I'm sorry.
Mark,
I got to ask this question. Hold on. I'm sorry. You stayed with this guy in hotels. You never had one conversation about like ex-girlfriends, dating, like things like that, like stuff that you have. Never. Okay.
No, we were, dude. It was all about the election, like stolen election. Remember, this was right after the 2020 election. This was all business, and I don't do small talk. I am not a small talk guy. I am to business, and that's it. And I've got one mode or the other mode. And
so, Mark,
and really,
Dan. Steven's got his hand up and has had his hand up. So let Steven have the next question if you guys don't mind. Go ahead, Mark. Finish up, and then Steven.
I'm so sorry.
What the fuck? This is going really well, though. Go ahead, Stevenson. It is.
So we all know he's a homo. He's a queer. He's a.
All right. It doesn't have to be.
Yeah, I know. But what I know, we do. But like, did he register people or not? Like, let's cut to the chase. And if he didn't, what were his motives? How can we identify this? Like, there's a lot of supposition. We know he's gay. We know he might be weird, but most people, let me tell you something about politics. Most people involved in politics are a little freaking weird.
And a little gay.
Yeah, and gay is like when you're going door to door asking people to register, you're not going to get a straight guy to do it. You need someone like Scott. And where's the beef? Where's the evidence that he actually is an op for Democrats? I want to see.
What the hell does that mean? If I want Amish people to vote, I don't send a gay guy to knock on their door.
Listen, he's not asking.
That's counterintuitive. That's counterintuitive.
Yeah,
no, it's not counterintuitive. It's common sense. You know the Amish.
Here we go.
Hold on, guys.
All right.
Yeah,
Please.
Name Redacted is in charge.
I have a question. I don't know who can answer this, but this incident, and I don't care if he's gay, but there was an incident where it does matter back in Virginia where he allegedly had sex with a guy in a RNC office and then posted some sort of pictures online on Craigslist. Anyone that worked with him, Brian or Mark, do you know about that incident? Were you working with him at that time?
I was not working with him at that time. I am aware of that incident. It's widely referenced, and Scott resigned from his position at the time, indicating that it's likely accurate. Supposedly, those photos are somewhere. I have not personally seen them.
I don't want to see them.
I believe the evidence indicates he definitely was there at the time. He was working in that office at the time. He resigned after that. So I haven't, until I see the photos, I can't tell you 100% that that's true. But there was several articles written about it. Scott has not denied it ever, to my knowledge. So I do believe it is accurate, but until I see the evidence, and let's try to keep it evidence-based if we can. And let's just be cautious also of a tactic that's used to discredit is to come in and have someone.
Well, that's why I asked if either of you were working with him at that time and have like firsthand knowledge of it.
Right. No, I'm just mentioning, on some of the other speakers, let's just be aware that it would be easy for one of Scott's supporters to actually come in and try to discredit this discussion by moving it away from the facts and the evidence and moving it into like personal attacks. So let's try and steer clear of that if we can.
Sounds
Should we
good.
tag? Should we tag Scott Pressler? Should we tag Scott Pressler and see if he'll come in,
I
guys?
can't tag him. He blocks me.
He blocks me too. I can't tag.
I can probably tag it.
He's
Hey,
blocked
I-
me too,
I got
but
a
let's
question.
somebody
I don't
tag
get to
him.
talk about the incident if you
Everybody?
want to hear it.
Yeah, let's see if we can
You guys want
get
me
him
to comment
tagged.
on that?
Thank
Yeah,
you.
who's speaking? Is that Virginia?
Yeah, this is David from Virginia Project. I had an encounter with Pressler in February of 2021, not a physical encounter, but on the phone. Now, my PAC was engaged in a project to recruit a Republican candidate for every single House of Delegates district in Virginia. Something that had never been done before. It was a key objective of the PAC, and in February we kind of had a sense of how many candidates had stepped up for how many seats and how many we needed to recruit for. So I put together an online application to track, who we had, and I put together a crowdsourcing effort with various activists and party committees in the Republican Party of Virginia. So as we were doing this, somebody passed me Pressler's contact information and said, hey, reach out and see if he will, help the effort to find and recruit candidates. And at the time, I knew basically what every normie thinks they know, which is, that he was a noble activist for the cause. So I was like, great. So I call him up and I post. Recruit candidates for these House of Delegates districts. Nope. Huh. Weird. Huh? Okay. Will you at least help the Republican Party of Virginia Beach? No. Event. So, I didn't waste his time or mine by trying to push it. I said, thank you for your time and moved on. So I'm talking to my people about this, like it was so strange. And then I got the heads up that the incident happened in Virginia Beach. And if there's any doubt in your mind that it happened, dispel them. You can easily find the pictures online. They're 100% genuine. Okay, I've spoken to people with direct knowledge of the event who were working at the Republican Party of Virginia Beach at the time. If anybody who's doing reporting on this wants to speak to the people with direct knowledge, I can hook you up.
Sorry, this is Brian Ference. Please do connect me with them. I would like to connect with those people, please.
Okay, I will absolutely do that.
Thank you.
Yeah, the crazy part of this story is that a few months later, we set our all-time unbreakable record. We got our 100 candidates. Completely stripping out all evidence that anybody but himself had any involvement whatsoever. Okay, so everybody who knew was like, hey, credit Virginia Project, credit, all the people who actually did it. And he obstinately refused to do so. So if you look up the word plagiarism in the dictionary, it's it's the dictionary definition. And in hindsight, I probably should have sued him, except I was in tooth and claw combat with Loudon Democrats. You may remember that. That was the critical race theory fight with the enemies list and later the rape scandal. So, I had better things to do than pursue it, but I did record it at the time. I gave it to Brian. He posted about it, and that incident convinced me that there was something very wrong with the guy, and that what people believed he did, it was him systematically misleading in the way that he did it to me. That he announces some great accomplishment, he lets his audience thank him for it, and he doesn't correct anybody, and he doesn't credit anybody. So that's my firsthand personal testimony, and I know a lot of others who worked with him. I'm a Virginia specialist. I know people all across Virginia. Like, there are very few people tied into the Virginia Republican Party's activist base like I am. And, people have come out of the woodwork with all sorts of stories that, a lot of it's anecdotal. You want to be evidence-based, so you need you want physical evidence before reporting on something. But everything that's been told to me by others who have had direct firsthand contact with him, of people who are not connected to each other, so they're not comparing stories with each other. They're telling me the same exact kinds of things. Like, just this very slimy kind of operation where everything's about promoting himself. And I'm tired of seeing him kind of defraud everybody. I think this is essentially fraud. I don't know what any other word to describe it. All right, I won't talk to you all night.
No, you're great. Please stay on the panel. I want to go to Lucky, and then I want to go to the Pennsylvania people, and we'll focus on Pennsylvania because that's the most controversial. So, Lucky, if you want to go and tie it into PA, so I can turn over to like Feds and Mark, because we've covered a little bit of Arizona with Brian. We obviously have Virginia here from Virginia, and then I think Pennsylvania is where Mark, Feds, and Name and Lucky all kind of have questions and information about, so we can focus on that. So go ahead, Lucky, and Feds, go right after him. Lucky, do we have you? Okay, go ahead, Feds. Maybe he has some issues.
Yeah, no problem. So I am obviously from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I have been very involved with elections, both at the local and the state level, as well as, for federal elections with President Trump and things like that. I've been a part of a local organization / group in Delaware County, and they also serve and work with Chester County, Montgomery County, and Bucks County. But it's entirely volunteer based. It's a lot of people. We've all lost money by spending time and obviously our own finances and all the election cycles thus far ever since 2016. And in 2020, I was heavily involved. I was a poll observer / watcher. I've been there during the tabulation process for mail-in ballots. How it works is in Delaware and parts of Chester County, they kind of collect all their ballots, send them down to the waterfront, to a place called the Wharf down in Chester, and then they count all the ballots that are tossed in there and put together. So I've been present for that, where a lot of shenanigans took place and questionable ballots from the 2020 election, things like that. But it's all volunteer based. There's a lot of volunteers that are in there. It's roughly nearly 100 people right now. Again, we don't get any PAC money, never have received PAC money. I've given money to people to cover, gas and things like that, because I'm more fortunate and can afford to spend time on it, and my own money as well, just to help people out, keep people going, keep everybody motivated. So during the last election cycle, 2024 presidential election, I was involved again. I did reach out to Scott because, of course, he was touting his efforts and his fixation on the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, just to see how I could get involved or possibly offer any group involvement to him from the people I worked with locally, especially in very populated and dense areas all around Philadelphia metropolitan area. Very familiar for a lot of the local election judges, all the different precincts, which ones to look out for and things like that. All he gave me was some contact info for a group that was basically a third party. They were hiring people, having people meet at a Panera Bread to get brief training on how to basically read off a script and use Numenar, which is a kind of an election ballot tracing app, to kind of go after low propensity voters and ensure they show up. However, it was not for any specific candidate. It was just talking about economic and inflationary issues. I found that strange, so I asked the individual who was behind it, and this is from Freedom Works is the name of this organization. Asked the person who was my contact on it, I said, is this exactly related to Pressler's operation or what's going on? And kind of said, no, that doesn't start until next month. And this is maybe, a couple months, maybe 2 months before the election, which I found kind of strange because usually you want to bank those early if you can get an early vote, or you want to make sure that people are aware and, their registration's up to date, they're ready to go, and, you want to stay on their asses about it. So it wasn't affiliated with any direct candidate. I was obviously focused on President Trump because it was the general. So I said, fuck this, didn't get involved with the group. They were paying people like $24 an hour, something like that. Had nothing to do with it, stuck with my own things in my own group. Now, going back to that group being mentioned, there was a bunch of people in that organization that also reached out to Pressler to see if they could get involved with his operation directly, as opposed to him dumping us off to these other groups that were getting PAC money and, money from the RNC, and they weren't exactly endorsing specific candidates. Now, Pennsylvania has always had an issue with President Trump, especially in metropolitan areas. When I was actually a candidate for office previously, I was approached to run by my county officials, and they said, we'd love for you to run. I worked on Mastriano's campaign previously. I was very engaging with people at the polls, going out, just very motivated, young. That's what they need. So I said, yeah, I'll be happy to run. And when they asked for me to run, they basically said, we'd love you as a candidate, but you kind of have to tone it down with your support for President Trump at the time. So that kind of explains exactly how our state GOP is run and how they handle things around here. And they differ greatly from the actual, like the new RNC. They're more focused on the older people, the big money donors, things like that. So that just kind of is a summary for the state GOP, so you know what we're dealing with. Now, these people who reach out to Pressler, try to work with early vote action, not a single person received a reply. He was putting out ads, he's putting out blasts, even Elon's organization, they were trying to get people involved to work on the ground. I don't have a single friend or a single mutual that heard anything back about a paid position, especially people like myself who have been operatives at the local level, have very big networks of, election judges and things of the sort, have literally mapped out different counties and precincts where we can focus and where there is low propensity voters and we can get them out to the polls. None of us received any responses other than the one I got from him trying to dump us off on a third party. In terms of the Amish thing,
what third party?
This is Freedom Works is the name of the organization that was basically having people do Numenar door knocking through an app. And it turns out the Numenar that they were doing.
I did get responses, just FYI to preface.
Okay, that's great. But anyways, back to Numenar.
Stella,
when Freedom.
Stella, don't interrupt again, honey, or I'll just put you down to listener, okay? We're doing this kind of organized. Thank you.
Now, this organization that Pressler used or was referring people to, this Freedom Works group, when they were starting up an operation, I looked at the app and I said, fuck it, let me see if they actually visited my home or visited my neighborhood. I plugged in my address and it said that they had door knockers came, dropped off, reading material. Never happened. I asked my neighbor across the street, same thing on the Numenar app, said they came to his place, neighbor next to him, neighbor next to way over, spoke to every single person and said, hey, did you guys get any door knockers from this organization? As well as Pressler's organization as the election neared. Nobody had anybody show up. So I, again, reached out to the person through Numenar. They use a Slack channel. Went to the guy through Slack, who was my main contact for this organization. I said, hey, man, you got people that are bullshitting it. You're paying these people and they're actually not doing their job. So again, this really raises a question as to who exactly Pressler was networking with, this Freedom Works organization, what other paid positions, people were actually fudging the numbers. Nobody showed up. I have cameras all over my property. Nobody ever came out. So that really raises the question as to the integrity, especially if he's using third-party groups and just routing money or firing up these get out the vote campaigns. It wasn't very legitimate. So that's one issue. And in terms of the Amish stuff, Amish population, he claims to have registered like over 100,000 Amish. There's not even that many Amish in the Commonwealth, and that includes the Mennonites. I'm very close with the Amish. They've built my father's home, my father's barn. They did our roof. They did woodwork all around our whole home and trim work. I've spent many years with them. I actually, they can't use computers and shit, so I've helped them out with their websites and have done web hosting for them. Asked multiples of them, including ones that are heads of some of the very more well-known. They all kind of had the same last name on a lot of businesses and buildings. And they're kind of, it's like the Amish Mafia show. It isn't real, but there are kind of Amish guys that run a lot of these businesses. Asked them, have you or any of your people heard of the Scott Pressler guy? I showed them a couple videos and they just kind of laughed. And they said, no, that guy's not going to change anyone's mind. And when it comes down to it, the Amish turnout was actually not because of Scott Pressler. It was actually State Senator Doug Mastriano when he ran for governor. His outreach to the Amish was extraordinary. It was huge. The Amish came out in droves to actually vote for him for governor. They really don't like to get involved, but they came out full force because they really didn't want Shapiro to take office, especially after, the FBI field office in Philly was going after raw milk farmers, Amos Miller, for example. So in terms of the Amish outreach, I'm trying not to get into defamatory or libelous statements, but that raises a big question mark for me. I don't really see it, and I don't really believe it. I don't know if he's a fraud or lying, but again, there's some questions there that I really don't have much belief to. Now, when they said they were driving people down to the polls, if you remember Jack Posobiec and his brother Kevin, they made a post saying, oh, we're going to, put the Amish into rental vans, or we're going to drive them all to the polls. So I said, hey, man, I have access to a Suburban. I can go get a Sprinter van. I can get some Amish out there if you're actually really doing this. Here's my contact info. I never heard anything back. I tried different channels other than just the Poso brothers, straight through Scott Pressler. Didn't get anything back. Didn't hear anything back. So again, I really question the validity. And for somebody who takes a lot of videos and is absolutely obsessed with himself and the Posobiec brothers who just made some stupid clip of themselves walking in the White House grounds, I didn't really see any clips or videos of them prancing around with the Amish or, getting them into vans. And they're not, that whole thing where the Amish don't like their photographs because it thinks they steal their soul or some shit. That's not true either. The Amish really don't give a fuck. I mean, they use photos for all their own material and to show who they are. They show their...
Are they vampires?
Yeah, it was a stereotype trope that a lot of people believe. But in terms of the Commonwealth, I just don't really see it. I know he was involved in some college towns, but when it comes to Bucks, Bucks was shifting red for a while. So it's kind of there's this trend that's ongoing and he swoops in and says, I saved the day. I made the difference here. If you follow the trends, it just was trending to the right. Pennsylvania is a very purple state, but
the Fitzpatrick brothers have been the congressman for almost 15, 20 years, right? It went from Mike to Brian, and they've been consistently, winning election after election in Bucks County. So it's to say that this was a Democratic stronghold. It's always been a swing county, just because it's on the borderline of Philly. So it just gets that mixture of Republicans and Democrats. Most of the county commissioners, historically, it's been all Republicans until 2020. So to say this was a stronghold with Democrats that he flipped, it's to your point, it's completely just false. And that's, anyone that knows the area knows that was false, other than these big accounts that, willfully and knowingly promote this as this guy was a game changer.
Yeah, and you can speak to that. I mean, you and I have had discussions. We know each other pretty well on a personal level. I won't reveal any of that, but you know what you're talking about when it comes to Bucks. I know pretty well what I'm talking about when it comes to Chester, Delaware, a little bit of Montgomery County. That a lot of this is just it doesn't make sense that people are saying he saved the election when in reality, there's been people like myself, people, all these retirees I work with and young kids who are motivated. We've lost money doing this shit. And so when we reached out to try to say, hey, can we offer resources or our time or our own experience? Or, hey, I have a fucking interactive map that I got all autistic on for a week straight that actually maps out specific precincts and election judges with the contact info and who we can get in specific areas. We didn't hear anything. So when I hear that, Turning Point USA dumped, like some people said, $5 million, $8 million into this early vote action, and the only contact info I received from our EVA volunteer, quote unquote, was a fucking guy who was African, barely spoke fucking English, got my name wrong twice after I corrected him, and asked me to go and vote early. To which I just said, listen, man, like the queue, if you actually know, the queue is 3 hours long. I'm not going to fucking stand there. I'm going to go on election day. Because again, the early vote thing does not make sense when everything is redirected to like 1 or 2 county like buildings, and you have a 3 hour long wait where you can just go to your local precinct and be in and out in 10 minutes. It took me less than that on election day. So again,
it was
the tactics
they wanted to show the videos of them giving pizza out to the people in the long lines. I voted in like 5 minutes on election day. Why would I have gone to Doylestown or those 2 centralized locations to stand in line for 3 hours so I could meet Scott Pressler and Jack Posabig and they could give me pizzas and donuts while I sit in line? It was all performative and for clicks. Everything they do is for clicks. It's all for video counts. It's like the woman he sent and claimed that she was working for the Democrats door to door in Wisconsin, and she was calling the Republican candidate the devil. And it turned out she worked for Scott Pressler's group, and they just didn't vet her. Or for all we know, it was just a setup, and they wanted to make a viral clip with her calling the guy the devil, and they just got caught because they didn't do their, she was dumb enough to actually have the pamphlets from their organization in her hand as she's making these claims. It's just all, everything they do is just for clicks. It's all performative. They take the credit from the local people like you doing all the work on the ground, and it's a joke. And it's just,
it sounds like it's for a lot more than just clicks. It sounds like from what I'm hearing from everyone, especially followed. I mean, if you're actually there on the ground doing it, and then the Virginia project, you guys are actually working, spending your own money. And if Scott Pressler is saying he's doing all this and has some sort of operation, it's for way more than clicks. It sounds to me like he's raising a lot of money, getting a lot of donations, and not doing the work, but then claiming victory.
And we all know when red takes a huge cut that does not go towards actual candidates. It goes towards the payment processing. And in many cases, a lot of it gets funneled just to a general RNC pool. And we know the RNC was not very serious about get out the vote efforts, especially in very contested battleground states where the party has a complete disconnect on the state level with the actual general consensus, the rightward shift of the GOP as a whole. So I see these links and it's win red. I see these, claims of outreach and the numbers don't add up. I get no contact, or I get redirected. Just is non-serious and is having people, fudge their reporting, and they're not even properly auditing like what houses are reportedly knocked on for low propensity voters. It's just there's a lot of things that don't add up to me personally, which is why I got blocked by him, of course. I think everybody who's shown some kind of disagreement or has kind of had questions has gotten blocked right off the bat. But the last thing I need is someone who's not from the Commonwealth coming in and trying to tell me how the fuck, things turned out on the ground, or trying to tell me that I'm wrong, or trying to tell me, oh, well, you don't know better, all the shit he did. I don't need to hear that from fucking anybody. I've had a lot of people try to pull that shit on me. I've been here a lot better than a carpetbagger has. And I'll tell you right now, it's not the case for a lot of people who have actually done this for years and lost a lot of fucking money on it.
Brian, you got your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I was just mentioning, I wanted everyone to be aware, I posted some links in both the comments and then shared with the space. And then someone was mentioning FreedomWorks, and I posted an article that I wrote on FreedomWorks, as well as some of the graphics and linked to some of the other articles. Basically, they're allegedly, according to Breitbart, they're tied to Soros-linked groups, including the Koch brothers, applied for like COVID loans. They basically converted themselves to a libertarian, like non-political organization now. So they're very left leaning. That's not a good group to ever be working with. That was the main thing. Thanks.
Yeah, I'll see if I still have the material here, because they gave me a stack of like 1,000 of these like door placard things. It's in my secretary. And there was nothing in there pushing for a specific candidate. The whole thing they wanted you to do was go there and say, has inflation affected your family's spending? Where do you see yourself financially in the next 6 months? Like, I have this whole list of shit. And they're going after like allegedly like low propensity voters, and like they're trying to get out the vote, but they're not getting out the vote. They were just asking these asinine questions. And again, like a lot of fraudulent reporting took place. And that was an organization that Scott Pressler sent me to. And allegedly they were going to be the ones working with Scott Pressler in those coming weeks.
Hey, to address the who raised more money off of the plagiarized thing, given that we got almost nothing for months of work and historic accomplishment, the probabilities are it's almost certain he got more money off of our accomplishment than we did.
Stella, I'll go to you. Everybody's kind of had a chance to talk. Why don't you go ahead and talk, Stella?
Hi. All right. Thank you. I'm just wondering, with all of this talk about Scott Pressler, for me, being, I consider myself an independent, but for anyone that, voted Trump and quite frankly is just really opposed to the left and what we saw the past 4 years, to destroy Scott Pressler's name, I guess, I'm hearing all of this. A lot of it sounds kind of emotional. Sounds like some people feel like they should have been paid more, but we had a very successful election. The candidate I wanted to win won. So I don't know who all these other
Do
guys
you work
that
for
are.
Scott Pressler?
I don't work for Scott Pressler. I don't. But to destroy the one guy who's like the face of ground game for the GOP.
That's the face of the GOP's ground game.
Do you want your children? Do you have children or grandchildren? Do you want your children or grandchildren to look at someone that did porn, that had sex in our government offices? Do you want your kids growing up with something like that? Really?
Well,
I'm an
can
old lady.
Can I finish? To be honest, if you guys can throw another name out there, somebody that's been on the ground and stated back in, early, I want to say 2021, about where he decided, I'm going to move to Pennsylvania. And, he did. He went to gun shows. He just did the very bare bones.
Stella,
Hold on, boxing. Let me finish. He did things that, and he documented it. He shared it. And I don't care what anyone says. He definitely inspired people. Okay. And that is where the left destroys us, at that grassroots level. And just out of all the people you could look at, criticize, investigate, it blows my mind that you're going to pick him. Like, come on, guys.
Stella, okay, listen.
Yeah.
Here, please, just 2 seconds. And this is not personal. Feds has nothing to gain by criticizing Scott Pressler. He doesn't need money, and either does I just know you have to get rid of people who are grifting and sucking up oxygen.
This feels like grifting to me.
Who's grifting here?
Talking about
grifting means.
If I could just interject real quick, Stella, I don't think anyone in here has brought up compensation. Like, none of us have ever mentioned that. Like I said,
Virginia did,
I don't need it. Virginia did, because he's trying to run an organization at the local level, but at the same time, he said that he has not made anything off of it. Yeah. So most of us don't want to get paid.
Okay, but you did start with nobody's brought up being paid, but now you acknowledge Virginia did. He said we definitely didn't receive as much as we should have for all of our hard
so
work.
just focus on feds.
Yeah, but that's not that. We're talking about compensation versus like money for infrastructure. Like, he's not speaking to like actually getting compensated, like money in the pocket, like walking around like liquid cash for him to spend. We're just talking about funding for an actual grassroots organization,
right?
Which a lot of you like. You want to say, oh, what's some other people you can name? Well, you also have to understand there's a big thing on the right where people tend to prop up the loudest voices without really understanding what's behind it or really looking at the grassroots level. Like, as I said, in Pennsylvania, like a lot of these organizations that are all grassroots people tend to get like they thumb their noses towards these kind of organizations that demand more from our county GOP. Like, my county GOP straight up told me you can't be loud and vocal about the fact that you're a Trump supporter when you run for office, and I was in an area that was one of the most solid red areas and voted Trump overwhelmingly consistently for all cycles. So in that same notion as well, like I'm just a lot of us have questions, but whenever we try to ask questions, we tend to either get blocked or we get disregarded. So we haven't really heard
questions about what?
Can I speak?
For example, the Amish turnout. So when we had Amish number turnout, a lot of us he allegedly registered over 100,000 Amish people, but there's not even that many. And if you include the Mennonites in the totals, there's not even that many here in Pennsylvania. So it just doesn't make sense. Things like that. So
Right.
and it's the same thing. We've asked where money goes. We asked where the grassroots efforts are. We've asked where the people who are allegedly running different counties
And what
and
made you,
the local
what
election. We didn't hear anything of that.
What made you dig into that? Were you upset over the election results, or what exactly sparked you
Because
to?
he doesn't win an election unless Trump's on the ballot. That's the point. He's on all these local elections and he constantly loses by double digits. So if his efforts are working right, why aren't they working in any of these other races? It's only working the 2 times when Trump was on the ballot at the top. And this guy didn't even endorse Trump. He refused to endorse Trump during the primaries. He was essentially de facto
What are you
DeSantis
talking
supporter.
about? What?
Yes, he was. Go back to the primary before Iowa happened. Before Iowa happened, and Trump won by 30 points, and DeSantis was humiliated. Scott Presler would not make an endorsement of either candidate. He just said,
That is correct during the primary.
That's
So
absolutely correct.
one thing I want to say, if there's anyone listening that has
That's
worked
funny.
with Scott Presler in his organization, you can request to speak. We'd love to definitely hear from you. This is not a topic. I'm an expert. I don't know what the truth is, but we do have a lot of people on here that sort of work for him and have these stories like Brian, Virginia, followed by feds and so on. So if there's someone that worked with him that has a different story or wants to defend him, you should request or DM me and we'll bring you up.
Namer, can I
Can I speak, Namer? This is Brian Ference. Can I speak?
And then can I reply to Auntie G, because she
Yes.
real quick, Auntie G. Now, based on what you said, listen, can you look at it from the perspective, at least Scott being a young gay man going out was kind of as much as some conservative will be opposed to it, he worked, because anybody that was going to build a name or be loud is going to be destroyed. But him being gay, that worked very well for us. In my opinion.
It was a escaping operation.
Well,
Can I speak, please? This is Brian
and I'm
Ference.
not opposed to gays. I don't care what, he wasn't, those claims that you're making about him having sex.
Thing about the Amish in Pennsylvania, then I got a jet. Okay, I went out there with the Hand Count Roadshow to talk to the Amish as well, present in front of them. None of them that I contacted were interested in doing anything with regard to the election. And all of a sudden, within a few days, Scott goes out, and apparently he's getting 80,000 something Amish, registered to vote when I couldn't even get single presentation.
Well, Mark, you're not Scott. There's something different. He has a different.
Mark's truthful and Scott's full of shit. That's the difference.
Okay.
Let me just finish.
You realize half the people, the Amish, don't even speak English. They speak Pennsylvania Dutch. So how is Scott communicating them? Did he bring an interpreter?
Doug knows me, has known me for years, by the way, so you can connect the dots there as well. Doug's a great guy. So I was out there. I experienced that right there. Hard Meat. You need to look into Hard Meat, because Hard Meat is running Scott. Scott is running a shaping operation. You know what 5th generation warfare is? Everyone needs to go buy Citizens Guide to 5th generation warfare. You understand what's going on. When red is the act blue. It's all controlled. And I got a jet, but I appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity. If anyone's got any more questions, please feel free to reach out. I got to go get some video editing done. Thank you, Patriots. Enjoy the rest.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you for coming,
real quick.
Mark.
Yeah, real quick, Stella, to answer your question. I would not trade using somebody's gayness to, jeopardize and to get votes. I don't like it. I don't, my whole deal is it's like a parade. It was a sham. It's a scam. And Scott Presler didn't. I've looked at all the research these guys have done. And I don't know how much your time you've spent into it, but I found the real research. These guys have done work. He didn't do what he said he did. And that's the whole point. That's why I don't like him. And that's why I don't want any more people in the GOP doing this. It's gross.
And I wasn't implying by any means, just to be clear, that we used his gayness. He was a loud voice and was very loud and became hyper focused on Pennsylvania and committed to that for a few years.
You did say that it helped us. You said that the gayness helped us.
I said, looking back on it, you know what? I think that it probably did work. But guys, if it had been a woman, there would have been shit. If it had been a black man, there would have been.
Wait a minute, Stella. Hey, wait a minute. If it had been a woman, I'd have been screaming twice as hard because I'm one of the women on here that are calling out all the catfish, all the women that have got their fake profiles over there on your side, that are dirty, nasty little girls that are scamming, that have got OnlyFans, that are ex-porn, that are criminals. You've got some people over on your side that are screaming MAGA, MAGA, and don't even know what they're talking about. And they've got porn, OnlyFans. They're disgusting. Go clean up your son, hon. Okay, well, Scott's just the lead. We can't. We got to stop being tolerant. We got to stop it. You women have got to shut your mouths. Sorry, shut your mouths and let the men lead a little bit. You've ruined our country. Sorry, I better shut up.
No, I agree on that, actually.
This is Brian Ference. Can I speak for a little bit? I've been trying to speak for a while. So, Stella, I want to talk to you for a minute. I hope you appreciate, that, you've been allowed to speak and give your opinion. Clearly, you're a fan of Scott, and that's fine. But I would like to ask you, why is it exactly that you blocked me on X, Stella? Because you've been allowed to speak. And do you know how many people Scott Pressler has blocked on X? I mean, it's got to be more people than he's registered to vote.
I blocked you. I opened up this space because Sarah was running it. I saw Sarah boxing in here, so I wanted to come in. And I saw that you were in here and you're blocked. And I don't really know. I think I saw some post about,
Oh, you don't know. You don't know why you blocked me. So that's interesting that you're a Scott Pressler fan. You blocked me just like he's blocked thousands of MAGA patriots. And you don't know why you blocked me. What's that?
Would you mind letting me finish?
Well, you haven't been letting anyone else on this space finish. You've been interrupting quite a bit. So yes, I'm speaking to you now. Go ahead, answer.
Thank you. I opened up the space. I got the pop-up that said one of the speakers is blocked. Do you still want to join? I said yes. So I opened up your profile. I'm like, I don't exactly know why I blocked him, but I have to search your profile with my name and see what. There was something. I'm assuming it was some story that you posted dogging on Scott. And to me, I'm just like, that makes me sick because this kid has been super committed to, I don't know what you stand for. I don't know anyone else that kind of compares to Scott on what he's done. Like, we don't have that in California. I wish we did. And whether you guys want to call it off, say he didn't do anything, he inspired a lot of people. And I do think he made a huge difference.
Why did every other state shift more than Pennsylvania, though? I posted the map of shifts to Trump. Why is Pennsylvania not as big as Texas and Florida and all these other states?
It has a blue stronghold, maybe. I don't know. What are you comparing it to? What states? What data are you using? I don't know. I
literally am using the vote totals from 2020 to 2024. That they made a map of how much the election. Right now? Just Lucky. They made a map of how much each state has shifted.
Okay, and are you upset how the election turned out, or like where's this?
No, I'm upset that grifters claim credit for Trump's wins. That's why I'm upset.
That's like your cause. You wake up to that cause. Like, I got to destroy.
Yeah. My cause is I'll never vote again. I voted for Donald Trump, and I'll never vote for a GOP candidate again. Maybe Vance. That's about it. And that's why we lose, right?
You should
because
vote
no one really cares about the Republican Party. It's an irrelevant party full of grifters, and that's why there was basically a dead party after Romney because people stopped coming out until Trump. So for some guy to claim that we won Pennsylvania and he registered 50,000 people, by the way, with no proof of the 50,000 registration, it kind of bothers me as someone who is originally from Pennsylvania and kind of knows the state pretty well to know the stuff he's saying is complete bullshit. But then people elevate what
why are you so obsessed with him? Why are you so?
All right, Stella, take this to a different conversation. There's so many hands, and I need to get other people up. So, I don't. If you're just here to be combative, we can do this.
Sorry, Sarah.
It's totally fine. You know, I love you. It doesn't.
Yeah. Victoria. Stella, you can raise your hand if you want to talk.
And I want to get Brother Nathaniel up here. And Edward's been waiting a really long time. So, Edward, if you could go quickly. And thank you, Leah, for coming to the space. I wanted to get you an invite, so I'm glad that you found us. So, go ahead, Edward.
Hey, Sarah. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Oh, the best day of my life. Thanks for asking. So I love America, guys, and it's so interesting. Do we know any of the people? I mean, you guys saying that we know. Personally, I live in California. I don't know any of our politicians. I know all of our precinct leaders. I don't know what kind of lifestyle they have behind the scenes. I don't know if they're cheating on their wives or whatever they're doing. Guys, I think that we should all do something for ourselves. This is just Edward speaking. We got to learn to appreciate what we already have. If we all focus more on how do we win 2026, what are some of the skills and solutions that we have for 2026? I need help, guys. I live in California. I live in Orange County. We're trying to get rid of our podcast governor and our crazy mayor. We had 16,000 structures burned down in 3 counties here in California. I just need some help of real honest brokers out here. And I don't know how you vet everybody. I don't know. Because everybody something going on in their closet. My wife and I just can't read.
All right, we're losing.
I want to live in America.
Okay, Edward.
Am I?
Yeah, Edward, you're rubber banding, dear.
All right, let's try. Okay. Go ahead, Leah. Welcome to the panel, and Daniel. We have to get to you as well, and then we'll go after Leah, Daniel, and then brother Nathaniel, and back to Brian and Stevenson and everybody. So please go ahead, Leah. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. You guys can hear me okay?
Yes, you're good to go.
Okay, thank you. So I'm a whistleblower. I had a sting operation in Pennsylvania in 2020 with Project Veritas and caught my county committing massive election fraud. I was an alternate elector for President Trump, and I've been paying attention to politics and a whole bunch of history for a long time. I'm frustrated at listening to. I feel like people have not learned anything from 2020, and that's just because people just take, the Scott Presslers of the world. He comes off as this kind and loving and great person with this great personality, and they completely ignore the facts that are presented to them. And I feel bad for those people. As someone who has literally been has been intimidated, harassed by our own government, who's been subjected to lawfare, who has literally lost my livelihood and has gone out and put my neck out there to listen to people praise someone who is literally an operative. Let me just give you a tiny bit of history. The mail-in ballot system that we got here in Pennsylvania was completely unconstitutional. It was a plan that was started out in 2016. I followed it. It's in our book, Parallel Election. I won't get into that. But anytime you want to centralize the vote, it is a communist. It is a communist system. Period. There is a reason why 68% of EU countries do not use the mail-in ballot system is because it's riddled with fraud. I have evidence in the court. Our evidence holds up in court. We've won our cases pro se. I know what I'm talking about. I could destroy any single person, and that is why I'm blocked by the Scott Presslers. That is why the grifters within, it's not even the GOP versus the DNC, it's a freaking uniparty, and they're all making money off of exploiting the mail-in ballot system, and people are literally under a spell and believing the nonsense that's coming out of Pressler. They're absolutely, it's nonsense. In 2022, Ronna McDaniel's plan, okay, which he is following right now, was to cheat better. It came right from her mouth. It was 2 days after I spoke on Steve Bannon's show, and the RNC started pushing out to cheat better and ballot harvest better than the enemy. What nonsense. I want to know in what history book, okay, where you embrace your enemy and you embrace their plan, you actually win wars. Let me tell you something. Whoever this Stella chick is, you have no idea what warfare is. You have no idea what we're talking about. You have no idea how to vet people. And you know why, sweetheart? Because Scott Pressler picks on little girls like you, because you haven't a clue about what life is. Okay, I've had the FBI at my front door, the Pennsylvania. Well, I will say this because you need to grow up. Scott Pressler, 100% is an op. Period. If you can't look at facts, that's your fault. Okay, I am sick and tired of someone, and there are plenty of people, including it's an insult to the January 6ers who were down in D.C., okay, being stuck in political gulags, okay, because of a stolen election. And you know how it was stolen? mail-in ballots, period. Okay? So anyone pushing and exploiting and making is either a grifting piece of shit or he's an operative. I don't care which one he is, but he's not helping you. Okay? He's latching on to the fact that you people, okay, do not you blindly follow. That is the problem with the United States citizens. That is why we're in this mess. That's why we're in a communist system. And I'm going to end it there.
You're blaming Scott? That makes no sense.
Hold on, dude. I'm telling you right now. Blame Scott. I am going to, and I blame you. And I blame you. Okay? You don't listen to facts. You ignore them because you need a savior. And for someone who is a follower of Jesus Christ, I have one savior, and that's God. I don't care about his gayness, okay?
Leah, you're breaking up a little bit.
I don't care about him being gay. And stop bringing it up. Stop bringing up him being gay. Stop. It needs to stop. You need to grow up and listen to facts. That's why we're in this mess. You're laughing.
What facts?
And you block people. What facts? They've been presented to you by Brian Ference. They've been presented to you by other people.
They're shared in the space.
I'll give you all the information.
Okay.
They're shared. They're literally shared in the space in the comments.
They're in the space. Dispute them. Stop talking about the fact that he's gay. Stop talking about the fact that he's happy.
Leah,
Stop talking about the fact that he's put forth all of this energy.
Leah, I've learned that you can't. Yeah, you're not. She's not going to change her mind because she's paid not to change her mind. She's paid to change other people's minds, sweetie.
Right.
I followed you. I followed you, Leah. Thank you for everything you're doing, Leah. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Leah. Go ahead, Daniel, and then Brother Nathaniel. Daniel, what do you have to say?
Yeah, and I'll be quick because I really love to listen to Brother Nathaniel. That's my
I
bud.
actually do love listening to him.
I do. I think he's the greatest, man. He's so cool. By the way, there are Democrat Party operatives, I won't say any names, in the space right now who hold very large spaces of their own. They just threw up a laughing face emoji, one of them, because there's likely several in here. And it is important to note that although they eat this shit up for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, it's still important for us to talk about. Right? So I get the people that are saying, like, you're doing a disservice to your party by talking about Scott Pressler's improprieties or potential or alleged things that, well, listen, there's an investigation underway. People are digging things up. They're learning. This guy sort of plopped onto the scene. And at first, myself included, I was like ready to become a county committeeman. And like I was talking with this guy, I got his number. We chatted several times. And what did it for me is there's a number of things, but you know, you can't ignore the fact, especially if you are a Christian, that this guy is promoting a degenerate, homosexual, disgusting lifestyle with using his platform with all of you who want to, the Stella, I love you, but the Stellas of the world, and there's a lot of them on this app, who are like, oh, you know, Scott Pressler, he's the greatest. Well, let me just bring to light a couple things. I can be a Trump guy and have never voted in my life before. My parents are Republicans, and I have guns, I hunt, and I'm, you know, there's a lot of right wing things about me, but I'm also very liberal in many senses. That's why, like, I can have a chat with a guy like Maine, and I think Maine and I could, like, actually sit down and have tea and crumpets and be friends. He's not a bad guy. We're Americans at the end of it all. So, but that doesn't mean that I have to be silent and say, like, I love Charlie Kirk. I don't. I think he's a fucking faggot.
Daniel,
No,
don't categorize me in that group.
No, I'm not. I'm just, well, you've categorized yourself in the group that thinks we shouldn't be having this conversation.
He's stealing, Stella. That's all that matters. He's stealing.
So my point is CPAC has funded him to the tune of like over $6 million. I'm not saying that he's making $6 million a year. boxing, the 6 million parts kind of point, right? But anyway, that's not my point. The point is simply that Charlie Kirk I don't like him. I don't like CPAC. Does Trump attend it? Yeah, because guess what? Press is press. So I guess my overarching point is this, and I'll land my plane. Just because somebody appears to be or is on the right doesn't mean we don't get to expose or do investigations or find out like who they really are. And if there's smoke, there's fire. So there is smoke here. And let's see, I'm reserving my actual final opinion. I don't like the guy. I don't think he's great. And I dislike him promoting a degenerative lifestyle with him and another man in bed who just said the day before, I just became a follower of Jesus Christ. So if there's hypocrisy, I'm going to point it out. And I think that if anyone is a Christian, that you should do the same. And that's where I live.
He's stealing, Stella. That's the actual thing that matters. What reason does Feds have to make this up? That he said he did something and he didn't do it and he's taking money, which ultimately is taking away from the effort.
He said something and he didn't do it. Like what? He filed by Feds, has his financials or what?
Did you not listen to him speak?
No, I just said we had questions about the alleged Amish registration numbers. But when you ask a question, you tend to get blocked, or you have people.
Okay, guys, I'm not going to go back fighting. Brian, you have your hand up. Brian,
and then Brian.
Yeah, brothers first. Go ahead, brother.
Well, shalom. That's a Jewish joke.
It's a double mute. Go ahead.
Okay, they asked her, did you hear about the 6-Day War? She says, I don't hear nothing. I live in the back. No, I guess I live in the back because I don't know who the hell Scott Presler is. Who is he? I never heard of him. Is he anything important? Is he worth talking about?
He's a Fagalo. He's a Fagalo.
Okay, besides that, why is he such a big deal in the space? Why is he the main man of attraction here? I never heard of that. Is he related to Elvis Presley? I don't know.
Presler, not Presley.
I'm just making that up, Sarah. Now, who is he? Sarah, that's a play on words.
We're trying to figure out who he is, brother.
Does he dress in bagel outfits like Elvis started doing? I'm not saying Elvis was a let me say something about Elvis Presley. Now I'm on the subject. I was a salesman, okay, and I walked into a big business, and there's a woman there at the reception. She's got all kind of things around her, pictures of Elvis Presley. I says, oh, so you're a fan of Elvis Presley. She went into ecstasy for 10 minutes. Oh. She must have been 15 years old, and I was 20. Oh. Then I said, can I see the guy? And I want to sell something. Yes. But, oh. She went into an ecstasy. I thought she was going to start speaking in tongues. I don't know. All right, so I'll do a search. I'll do a Google. And I'll look up Elvis. What's the guy's name? Oh, Scott Presler.
Scott Presler.
All right, he seems to be a very, very important person on this space. I wish I was as important. But
You're more
now,
important than Scott Presler.
But Sarah, I'm gonna start saying, because Howard Cosell said it first. I am the greatest. I am the greatest. I am the greatest. Now let me tell you about the Amish, and then I'm going to get off. All right, I grew up in Pennsylvania. We went to Pennsylvania Dutch country all the time, and we got
Lancaster County.
Yes, we got their raw milk and their butter. Oh, so good. And their schnitzels and their pickles. So anyway, some guy writes in a movie, and he hired Gene Wilder to be the Frisco Kid. Foxy knows the movie.
Of course I do.
Of course he does. You see how I know other Yiddlers? I know them better. All right, so they decide, hey, they need a rabbi for a yeshiva.
Harrison Ford was in it.
Yeah, Harrison Ford. They get a typical goy and a typical Jew. I mean, it's a masterpiece. Okay, so they hire this rabbi, young kid, and he's going to head up a yeshiva in San Francisco. But he gets off the boat near Pennsylvania. He's walking through, and he sees the Amish. He thinks they're chassid. He starts yelling at Landsman. That means countrymen in Yiddish, okay? Landsman. I know, what the hell is this guy? We don't know what the hell he is. He's not one of us. So this is funny. And then he hooks up with Harrison Ford. Okay, it's the Jewish boy, a little, with a tall, Aryan looking, Gentile. It's hysterical. That's all I have to say. I'm just trying to keep things on a very light mode. Leah, I just followed you because you're one tough gal and I may need you. Yeah, I like your spirit, girl. And I love Jesus Christ too. I do. And you're terrific. I just liked how she came on. She just nailed it. But my problem is this. I don't think this was a rigged election. There weren't mail-in ballots. And Trump is in and we're totally F. Totally. I mean, I thought I'd give the guy a chance. He wants a legacy. Hell, all he's doing is throwing bombs all over the damn place. And I don't think he thought through this thing with the tariffs. I was in favor of it, but didn't he know that was going to be sabotaged? I mean, you have to look at your enemies. You have to be 3 steps ahead of them. I don't think he planned this thing well. He just listened to Howard Latnick. By the way, Howard Latnick gave Trump more money than Miriam Adelson. You know that?
Brother, we got to go back to the Fagler Pressler. We got to go back.
Yeah, we got to go back. You're going to get us down to that rabbit hole with
All
the
right.
bank and everything.
So
no, I'm not. I was just going to talk about Latnick. Latnick says the Europeans don't want our beef because our cows are beautiful.
Yeah, they're beautiful, but really it's illegal in Europe. Yeah.
Well, Brother Nathaniel, Scott Pressler has
because,
never spoken negatively about Israel for what it's worth. So
What?
Brother Scott Pressler has never spoken negatively about Israel.
Well, how could he? Look, Carter called it out a long time ago. If you're not on the Israel bandwagon, your political career is over. He said it. And then Dershowitz would not allow him at any Democratic convention. He wouldn't allow him.
So I have a question for.
I'm not discuss that.
I have a question for
Brian.
yeah,
Okay, go ahead.
thank you. So and thank you, brother, for that. You really want to get this space shut down? I see. I understand how that works. No, I'm just kidding. Anyways, I want to go back to some evidence. So let's talk about the Rockefellers. So I posted an article, and this is Scott Pressler's PAC, Early Vote Action, in 2023 and 2024. He's received over $118,000 from 2 different Rockefellers. And that was William Gordon Rockefeller in 24, $18,000. And the other one was Lacine Rockefeller, $100,000. Her occupation listed as Winrock International, which of course is the Rockefeller Company. And the question is, how does someone get money from the Rockefellers? How do you get that much money? Usually with a donation of that size, you have to have a meeting. You have to meet with them, and then maybe they'll hand you a check.
And your connection is really bad.
Well, that's all right. I think everyone's is because maybe it's just my connection's slow. I don't know. Let me. Okay, yeah, I'm not on a Bluetooth, but am I coming in any better now? Not at all. Okay, all right.
It's like kind of buzzy.
Kind of buzzy. All right. Yeah, that's what I'm hearing on other people's. Okay, I'll try to speak slower, so maybe that'll be better. But the Rockefeller family, they controlled the Federal Reserve, global banking through Chase Manhattan Bank and the Federal Reserve, involvement with big pharma, the medical industry, through the Rockefeller Foundation, New World Order, through the Council on Foreign Relations and David Rockefeller, the Trilateral Commission, population control, eugenics, the vaccines, corrupted the education system. So whenever the Rockefellers donate to someone like $118,000 to Scott Pressler's PAC, Early Vote Action, that's a problem. That's evidence that needs to be looked at. Are they trying to influence the elections just like they try to influence everything else? I mean, these are not good people. So that needs to be investigated and looked at. There's some other evidence that posted in the space, in the comments, shared in the space, including evidence that seems to indicate that Scott Pressler and Turning Point, specifically through the registration of low propensity voters in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, directly resulted in the loss. Because what happened was those low propensity Republican voters, their ballots ended up being voted for the Democrats, over 800 of them. The margin of victory was 450 around there. So that directly caused the loss. and you can look at the data that Audit the Vote PA has shared. All that data is in there. It's all publicly available data. You can check the FEC filings. Look at the data. Don't go off of just what people are saying. Don't go off of, oh, someone's a good guy, someone's a bad guy. And then, go mentioning on Stella's profile, if you do a search on her profile for Scott Presler, you'll see she posted, "Forever indebted to you, Scott Presler. You saved our country. Scott Presler is an American hero. Scott Presler, hands down. We need young blood to lead the pack. Let's fucking go, Scott Presler." So clearly, along with her blocking people like me, clearly we have a Scott Presler shill. So I don't need to, attack you, Stella, on your personality or anything like that. I can do it based on your actions and evidence of who you are and what you've posted and what you've done. Thank you.
Brian, just one quick note. I blocked you because I started to see some of your posts about Scott come up in my feed, and I'm not like a chronic blocker. I don't think often block crap and scene and stuff like that. But if I just want to see stuff that is just going to annoy me coming across my feed, and just block and just
No offense, Stella. No offense. We don't really care. We have two more hands. Okay, Leah, go ahead, darling. Leah, are you there?
Oh, yeah, yeah, really rubber banding.
You gotta fix your connection.
Yeah,
I can't see hands. I can only see like.
No, Lucky has his hand up.
Yeah, quick point. Speaking of Israel, there's a space where Scott went to raise money, go over to Israel.
Man, they're hijacking our space, aren't they, guys?
They're messing.
Yep, I think we're being hacked on the space.
So it's a big space, and all of a sudden everybody's kind of like, yeah, I just want to say something to Phil. Forget the conspiracy. I don't know what it is. It's just he clearly is not doing what he says he's doing. He's sucking up the oxygen and making himself a fraud. Like, this is fraud. I understand. You can see, like, it's accomplishing, like, that's Trump, but, like, nobody's accomplishing, like, with Trump. Cleansing the Republican Party of these bad actors is important for the future. That's all. Like, it's not.
I'm not opposed to discussing, any of this. I'm not opposed to discussing about it. I am. I'm critical of Trump as well.
We're not criticizing Trump. We're criticizing Scott Presler, who clearly, by evidence-based, and Feds and Lucky have nothing to gain by criticizing him. They just have seen with their own eyes and their own actions a series of dishonest actions that lead to them saying, even if he's not connected as an op, he's someone who is disingenuous, and coupled with, yes, that other aspect, which if he's like a warrior, he kind of turns a blind eye, whether you like it or not, but he's not a warrior. He's not doing what he says he's doing, and he's also has that other element. So it's not good stuff. That's the point.
Boston, don't be elusive. Name it. Name it.
He's promoting like weird homosexual behavior, and he's also not getting the voters to vote. So why is he even in the Republican Party?
Lewis is here. I'm very happy about that.
Thank you, Daniel, for co-host. Yes, I appreciate all that.
I do like the introduction for Lewis, though. I'm happy.
Charlie, you've got your hand up. Or Leah, you want to try real quick, darling? Go ahead and try and see if we got you better. I'm dying to hear from you.
The biggest problem here is that Scott single-handedly, incredibly, it's wrong to say that for many reasons, but mostly because for the people that have fighting the election fraud, like myself in Pennsylvania, and Trump won because of the in-person vote. For fact, can discuss that many people today because he said that there was going to be a black swan event. I remember him saying, I still have the rally day that he said that he was discouraging people from going to vote in person, shockingly, because that would mean that they would be using mail-in ballots. If somebody wants to start to hear about actual election or understanding the mail-in ballot system, then I would be more than happy to discuss that. But before in Pennsylvania was won by the in-person vote, and that was because we were watching for 4 years and had many lawsuits, and we were nothing to do with Pennsylvania winning. And he has no proof, and neither does Stella or any of his other followers. So, it's bothersome that people ignore. Honey, you gotta go back down, honey. It's getting worse.
You can hear the audio quality because we're being throttled on X right now. Basically hacked and attacked.
I can hear you dropping some.
I'm gonna end the stream on this.
Please come back, come down and try to